A very good morning to all who have taken the time off to come today. This program, this initiative of libraries as communities was actually a brainchild of our GM Mr. Jayakumar and our librarian Ms. Jaishree Kannan. And for quite some time, we were having regular regular getting together like this every month, but for some odd reason, we have had a break in between, and we are trying our level best to restart and continue with the regularity from now on. The idea of our libraries as communities, Ms. Jaishree will explain to you soon. I'll tell you in brief. It is to let our readers and borrowers, members, and those who are interested to know what is available in our library, what goes on in our library and research center. This is the idea, so that people can make the best use of the treasure that we have here for the benefit of everybody at large. And today we have been choosing the specific themes every month, every time, to talk about the books and manuscripts and other materials related to those subjects with us. And today we will be seeing something related to the Indian music, and we are fortunate to have Ms. Jaishree Kannan to talk about those materials related to Indian music, and her talk will be titled Sangitam. Sangitam in Sanskrit means music. And a word about our speaker, Ms. Jaishree Kannan. She majored in Indian music, specifically in Carnatic music, and she earned her post-graduation in MA Philosophy, and that makes it formidable to assimilate the knowledge of music that she has been learning and spreading around. She was a teacher, and now she teaches chanting of Vedic mantras and Carnatic music to those who are interested. She has been working in the Adyar Library and Research Center for almost 25 years now, which is quite a long period for anybody to confidently say that she is the person to go to know anything about the library, the nooks and corners of the whole place, as well as what lies where, what are the books, what are the materials that we have on any subject with us. And she is also in charge of the Surendra Narayan archives, so that makes her doubly responsible for all the library materials in this whole building. And she has been the librarian of the Adyar Library since January 2023. Ms. Jaishree Kannan is noted for her presentations, which combine Indian music and theosophical subjects. And today she will be talking to us about Sangitam, the Indian music. It is, as I said, to introduce us all to what all we have at the library related to Indian music, because we specialize in Indological subjects only. Thank you very much. Now I welcome Ms. Jaishree Kannan to give her talk.
Thank you very much, Dr. Radha Raghunathan. I'll start with a sloka. Om Namah Pranavarthaya Shuddha Jnanaikamurtaye Nirmalaya Prashantaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Namah Pranavarthaya शुद्धज्ञानैकमूर्तये निर्मलाय प्रशान्ताय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। Dear friends, it is a good opportunity to greet all of you on this occasion. Wishing you, all of you, a joyous, wonderful and peaceful year 2025. May the Almighty guide us in all our endeavors. I would like to tell you something about libraries as communities. It is an initiative started in 2022 to encourage and kindle the interest that has been lying idle with the readers. During the pandemic period, the membership dwindled drastically. Uncertainty prevailed. When we started working after the pandemic period, it was Mr. Jaikumar who initiated and encouraged us into this initiative. Thank you. Now the community around us participate and we are encouraged to think more and more ways of presenting various topics. It is really amazing and heartening to find that we have at least 50 books on a given topic. At least. I shall briefly try to explore on the following topics: music, Indian music, history of music in India, and some books related to this subject that are displayed upstairs. According to Khalil Gibran, he said, when God created man, he gave him music as a language different from all the other languages. And early man, we may call it human beings, sang his glory in the wilderness and drew the hearts of the kings and moved them from their thrones. Music is the art of arranging sounds in time to produce a composition through the elements of melody, harmony, rhythm and timbre. An often cited definition of music is that it is organized sound. Musicologist Jean-Jacques Nattiaz explains the difference between noise and music. It is that the border between music and noise is always culturally defined, which implies that even within a single society, this border does not always pass through the same place. In short, there is rarely a consensus. By all accounts, there is no single and intercultural universal concept of defining what music might be. He continues, just as in music, whatever people choose to recognize as such, noise is whatever is recognized as disturbing, unpleasant, or both. The origin of Indian classical music dates back to Vedic times. Chants and a system of music notes along with rhythmic cycles are found in Vedic scriptures dated 6,000 years ago. Ancient texts, Samaveda containing organized music, was structured to melodic themes. Samaveda is called the Veda of music and is considered to have provided the foundation of Indian music. Indian classical music has a very great illustrious tradition. Some of the ancient texts of Hinduism, such as Samaveda, are structured entirely to melodic themes. One part is based on the musical meter, another the aim of rituals. Melodies of Samaveda belong to the oldest preserved melodies in the world. Very good. The ancient classical text Natya Shastra by Bharata Muni is the foundation of numerous classical music and dance traditions of India. I believe Natya Shastra was the first musical work in written format available. Another important ancient text is Datilam, an ancient Indian music text ascribed to the sage Dattila. It is believed to have been composed shortly after Natya Shastra of Bharata and is dated between the 1st and 4th century AD. Other two important written works that are worth mentioning are Brihadesi by Matanga in the 9th century, where Matanga tried to define raga, and Sankita Makaranda by Narada, written in the 11th century, describing 93 ragas. Ragas were classified into feminine and masculine categories in Sangita Makaranda. In Puranas, we find references of Shiva, Krishna, and Saraswati associated with Nada, flute, and Veena. Celestials like Tumburu, Narada, and Nandi, and others were also accomplished musicians. All these aspects gave a sacred nature to Indian classical music. The history of Indian music can be studied under three major periods: ancient, medieval, and modern. The era of ancient music extends from Vedic age of Sangita Ratnakara, after which the medieval system of music evolved. Around 14th century, it culminated in the bifurcation of Indian music into two branches, Hindustani and Carnatic music system. Both these branches evolved and established themselves firmly. That was two major Indian classical traditions, Hindustani and Carnatic music traditions. Continuing with the history of Indian classical music, in the south, Ilango Adigal was a famous scholar in the court of Chera kings. Mentions in the Silapadigaram that the ancient Tamils had developed the basic musical ideas as early as 1st century AD. Mahendra Varma, 7th century AD, had done yeoman service to Carnatic music by mentioning all the contemporary musical facts in Kudumiyan Malay inscriptions. Famous sages like Bharata, Matanga, Narada have written well-known music treatises. As early as 2nd century, Bharata Muni wrote Natya Shastra, as I mentioned before, in which he refers about Indian music directly in chapters 28 to 34. In the North Indian classical music, Hindustani music, the gharanas of Agra, Gwalior, Jaipur, Kirana, Lucknow, etc. came to be established. The history of Carnatic music right from the 12th century onwards, composers like Jayadeva, Ashtapadi Gita Govinda, Narayana Tirtha, Taranga Krishna Leela Tarangini, Arunagirinathar, Tirupugal, Annamacharya, Sankirtanas, Kshetrajna, Padas, where the groundwork already been done. The modern musical forms like Varna, Kriti, etc. defined and refined through these compositions. India had one system of music throughout the country till 13th century. The same fundamentals like Saptaswara, octave, Shruti, etc. formed the basic principles. Haripala for the first time mentioned the term Hindustani and Carnatic music. With the advent of Muslim rulers in north, the art of Indian music interacted with the Arabian and Persian system of music. Comparatively, South Indian music remained undisturbed without any foreign invasions or upheavals. In India, Indian classical music continued to prosper and grow along the ancient traditional way encouraged by temples and traditional Hindu kings. Thus, Hindustani and Carnatic music developed into two independent systems of music emerging from the same single source, that is Vedas. 7th century onwards, Bhakti movement in the country brought its saint singers and religious teachers. Saivite and Vaishnavite saints wrote Tevaram, Divya Prabandham in Tamil region. Devotional singers like Purandaradasa, Bhadrachala Ramadasa, Annamacharya, Meerabai, Surdas, Kabir Das, Tulsidas, Guru Nanak and other singers composed thousands of simple devotional songs. Regional languages were extensively used for these songs in order to reach the masses. Saint Purandaradasa is revered as Karnataka Sangeeta Pitamaha for systematizing Carnatic music. During 18th century, which is considered the golden period of music, there was multifaceted development and musical activity, both in quality and quantity of musical forms. like raga, tala, musical instruments, musical notation, musical system, etc. The scholarly musical forms such as well as decorated ones are kritis, swarajatis, varna, pada, pada, tilana, javali, ragamalikas, etc. were composed in large numbers. 18th and 19th century was equally important for Hindustani music system too. Pandit Vishnu Narayan Bhatkande systematized the Hindustani ragas under the Thaat system. A variety of composition forms like khyal, tumri and tarana were composed. The concept of concert singing in Carnatic music as we understand today originated sometime during 18th century. Development of Indian music in 20th century saw thousands of old musical compositions being unearthed and published in print along with notations, which proved a guideline to both teachers and students. The concept of concert singing as we understand today originated. Concert singing. In modern period, concerts are time bound for the public and sabhas. Violin and mridangam have emerged as a main accompaniments for a South Indian concert, and music teaching system has changed from Gurukula to institutionalized or private or personalized teaching. The Indian classical music has passed through many ups and downs. It has developed a capacity to survive under most adverse circumstances. We have seen that in the medieval period of our history, when there was a cultural invasion, the tradition of Indian music adopted itself in a manner that chaos could not damage the beautiful and pleasing treasures of musical tradition laid down by our great ancestors. The tradition took all the changes in a positive manner and modified itself accordingly. That is why in the present era too, when there are different streams flowing through our music, we see that the basics are still the same intact. Sangeeta Ratnakara, some of the books that we have displayed upstairs, very few only. Sangeeta Ratnakara by Sarangadeva, volume 1 to 4. It is a treatise on Indian music and dancing. Commentaries by Kalanidhi of Kallinatha and Sangeeta Sudhakara of Simha Bhupala. It was edited by S. Subramanya Shastri. Sangeeta Ratnakara literally means ocean of music and dance. Is one of the most important musicological texts of India. It is in Sanskrit. During the 13th century, it is on both Carnatic and Hindustani music traditions. The author Sarangadeva was a part of court of King Simhana of the Yadava dynasty. All our publications are based on our manuscripts that are there in the Adyar library. This is one of them. Venkatamakin's Chaturdandi Prakashika is a work on Carnatic music edited by S. Subramanya Shastri and others. Mela Ragamalika of Mahavaidyanath Shivan, edited by S. Subramanya Shastri. He, by the by, I would like to mention here that S. Subramanya Shastri came to work in Adyar library in 1939, and he lived in this campus along with his wife and granddaughter S. Sharada of Kalakshetra, Periya Sharada, she was called Periya Sharada, who has revised this edition. This book deals with 72 scale permutations of the 6 basic tetrachords of South Indian music. Sangeeta Sar is a Hindi study of Indian music based on the Sangeeta Ratnakara in seven volumes. Raga Tattva Vibodha of Srinivasa, a work on Indian music edited by Vibhu Kumar S. Desai. It is a publication which helps us to understand the different stages in evolution of music, both in the north and in the south. Ragas and Raginis by O.C. Ganguly. It is a pictorial and iconographic study of Indian musical modes based on original sources. It has illustrations and photographs. Go to Priya's. And color plates. It was published in 1934-35 in 2 volumes. The first volume has text containing history of ragas. The second volume contains plates with Hindi or Sanskrit text and translation. Sangraha Chudamani by Govinda, a treatise on South Indian music with notation and illustrative songs for 72 ragas. Damodara's Sangeeta Darpanam is a treatise on music and dance. Sangeeta Chandra by Shukla Pandita is a treatise on Indian dance. Sangeeta Bodha, the author is anonymous, a Marathi textbook for learning Indian music for beginners. The title page is missing and it is a laminated copy. Sangeeta Damodara by Shubhakara. This work is on music and dramaturgy, edited with introduction by Gaurinath Shastri and Govinda Gopal Mukhopadhyaya. Raga Chitra by Kalicharan Patnaik is a symbolic illustration by Raghunathan Prushti, reproduced from the 18th century Oriya palm leaf manuscript. It has verses from the Sangeeta Damodara of Shubhakara with Oriya, English and Hindi translation. Thank you.
That was a wonderful presentation of what we have at the Adyar library. It has been a real good participation, I should say, for 5 minutes. Thank you very much for coming, taking the time off and coming for this. And just about this Hariprasad Chaurasia, I would like to share one personal anecdote that I experienced almost 30 years ago or so, more than 30 years ago. I had just then come back to India, and his was the first, when the idea of coming back was, I must start attending, all these concerts and spend my time, going to all these Hindustani and Carnatic music concerts and dances and everything. And Hariprasad Chaurashi, I was the first one that I went to. It was in Narada Gana Sabha. And we didn't expect the place to be so cold and freezing. We just went, with all the warm, really, this one, light cotton clothes. And we started freezing after a while. And my second son was an infant at that time. So the baby was already, feeling very cold. And I was trying to wrap him in the pallu of my sari. And the baby fell asleep. Hariprasad Chaurasia was giving a wonderful flute concert. The whole hall, it's a very big hall, full. So pin drop silence, everybody was enjoying. And then, we have this background of the snoring from this little one. Okay. And when he finished, he said, I thank God, at least there was one who really made good use of my music. And he said, this flute is by Krishna, and there seems to be a little Krishna whom I could lull to sleep, and I'm very happy about it. So that was something about Hariprasad Chaurasia, and that is the beauty of our music. It doesn't excite you, it just exalts you, it takes you up to higher levels of our own realization, and that's where we are proud that we have such materials with us which can help. Thank you very much.